Hi, everybody. Well, tonight I'd like to read to you from the Message Bible, Romans chapter 12. Paul says, "So here's what I want you to do, God helping you. Take your ordinary, everyday life, your sleeping, eating, going to work, and walking around life, and place it before God as an offering. Embracing what God does for you is the best thing you can do for him. Don't become so well adjusted to your culture that you fit into it without even thinking. Instead, fix your attention on God. You'll be changed from the inside out. Readily recognize what he wants from you and quickly respond to it. Unlike the culture around you, always dragging you down to its level of immaturity, God brings the best out of you, develops well-formed maturity in you. I'm speaking to you out of deep gratitude for all that God has given me, and especially as I have responsibilities in relation to you. Living then, as every one of you does, in pure grace, it's important that you not misinterpret yourselves as people who are bringing this goodness to God. No, God brings it all to you. The only accurate way to understand ourselves is by what God is and by what he does for us, not by what we are and what we do for him. In this way, we are like the various parts of a human body. Each part gets its meaning from the body as a whole, not the other way around. The body we're talking about is Christ's body of chosen people. Each of us finds our meaning and function as a part of his body. But as a chopped off finger or cut off toe, we wouldn't amount to much, would we? So since we find ourselves fashioned into all these excellently formed and marvelously functioning parts in Christ's body, let's just go ahead and be what we were made to be, without enviously or pridefully comparing ourselves with each other or trying to be something we aren't. If you preach, just preach God's message, nothing else. If you help, just help. Don't take over. If you teach, stick to your teaching. If you give encouraging guidance, be careful that you don't get bossy. If you're put in charge, don't manipulate. If you're called to give aid to people in distress, keep your eyes open and be quick to respond. If you work with a disadvantage, don't let yourselves be irritated with them or depressed by them. Keep a smile on your face. Love from the center of who you are. Don't fake it. Run for dear life from evil. Hold on for dear life to good. Be good friends who love deeply. Practice playing second fiddle. The book I have tonight is called 3 Hens and a Peacock. It's written by Lester Lamanick and Henry Cole. Things are quiet on the Tucker's farm. The cows chewed their cud. The hens clucked and pecked and laid their eggs. The old hound stretched out on the porch, watching and listening. Once in a while, someone would stop to buy tomatoes or corn, perhaps a quart of milk. Nothing unusual happened until the peacock showed up. The cows and the hens and the old hound kept right on doing what they'd always done. But the peacock had never lived on a farm. He had no idea what to do. So he spread his fancy feathers and set to shrieking. Eventually, the peacock wandered down the road. When cars whizzed by, he shook his feathers and cried out in his loudest voice. Of course, folks stopped for a closer look. Day after day, more folks stopped to admire the peacock, and they all bought tomatoes and corn and eggs and milk. Business on the Tuckers' farm was booming. Everyone seemed happy to have visitors stopping by. But trouble was brewing in the hen house. The hens were squawking and clucking and flapping their wings. "We do all the work around here. I'd like to see that peacock lay one single egg." "Exactly. He just struts around screaming. I suppose fancy feathers are more important than laying eggs. That lazy peacock gets all the attention and we do all the work." The peacock had heard every word. For days he moped about, moaning and groaning. "I wish I could be more useful around here." "Huh," clucked one hen. The others ruffled their feathers. The old hound stretched and slowly raised his head. "Why not let the peacock stay here to be useful while you hens take the glamorous job down the road?" The three hens began clucking to one another. "What a wonderful plan. Yes, it's a fabulous idea. Oh, ladies, we simply must fancy up our feathers tonight, and nothing but our brightest beads, bangles, and bows. We'll stop traffic for sure. Why, you girls know I can strut with the best of them." The peacock perked up. "Let's do it," he declared. "Tomorrow I'll stay here, sit on a nest, and cluck. And we'll get all gussied up," said the hens. "We'll be so glamorous." At sunrise the next morning, the hens strutted down the road. The peacock marched right to the hen house and poked his head inside. The hens flocked by the road, waiting for a car. When they saw one approaching, they clucked and squawked and flapped their wings in a flurry of feathers. But every car whizzed right on by. The peacock sucked in his tummy and wiggled from left to right, trying to squeeze through the tiny hen house door. His front half was in, his back half was out. Down by the road, those hens tried every chicken trick they knew. Still, no cars stopped. Finally, the peacock made it into the hen house. He held his breath and pushed with all his might. But no matter how hard he tried, he could not lay a single egg. Not one. The old hound stretched out on the porch, watching and listening. "What's that peacock doing in the hen house?" asked Farmer Tucker. "Who knows?" said Mrs. Tucker. "And what are those hens doing down by the road? Not a one of them is up there laying eggs." "Well, the way things are going, we aren't likely to have anyone buying eggs today," said Farmer Tucker. "We need that peacock down there stopping cars." When the peacock heard that, he smiled the biggest smile you ever saw on a bird's beak. I am helping, he thought. He squirmed back and forth until he popped out of the cramped hen house. Then he trotted off to find the hens. The exhausted hens were all clucked out. Every feather was out of place. What a day. We couldn't get one car to stop. It's true. Why, most of them didn't even slow down. The peacock met the hens as they trudged up the road. I can tell you, I'm no good at laying eggs, he said. I'm just not meant for it. One hen nodded. I put on my stellar strut, and even I couldn't stop a single car, she said. I have to hand it to you, Fancy Feathers. Your job is harder than it looks. The other hens agreed. The peacock looked relieved. So the hens marched back to the hen house. The peacock strutted down to the road. The old hound stretched out on the porch, watching and listening, and things were quiet again on the Tuckers' farm. Well, the peacock and the hens each had their own gifts and their own work to do. And they couldn't do each other's work because they didn't have the right gifts for it. So God has given each of us gifts and talents to use in helping him in doing what God created us to do. And that's what I hope you can do. Be proud of how God created you, the gifts that God gave you, and use those gifts to make the world a better place. Sleep in peace. God is awake. Good night.